Hello, everyone. Welcome to AI Innovation in VetMed, episode 4. Today I have Dr. Mark Massaro here with us. Dr. Mark, thank you for being here. How are you?
Of course. Yeah, happy to do it.
Awesome, awesome. So, Dr. Mark, for our audience, why don't you tell us, your experience, who you are, where you work, what has been your veterinary journey?
Okay. Yeah, I just got my new scrubs. So this is my company, VetMeducate. So, or not my company, I don't own the company. It's the company I work for. And my official title, this is a relatively new job I just started a few months ago, is Director of Medical Software, which is actually a gig I've been looking to try to get for the last couple of years now. So my background is I am a small animal trained veterinarian. I graduated from Cornell in 2019. I did an internship at an emergency specialty hospital, small animal rotating internship, and then I grew up in veterinary medicine. My parents own a small animal GP in New Jersey,
Yeah,
so
gotcha. Yep.
I followed the blueprint. I went to my whole family, my parents, my brother went to Cornell.
Oh,
I went
wow.
to Cornell,
I didn't know that.
and then I did an internship. They wanted us to be internship trained, my brother and I. And then I came home and I joined the family practice with my parents and my brother. And I practiced GP for a year. And I was getting really into technology and software and hospital management. And I actually was at the time, I was trying to get my parents to transition from paper records, believe it or not.
Mm,
And I also kind of realized that clinical medicine might not be the best fit for me long term. I was kind of at a crossroads in my life. Like, what am I going to do for the next 50 years type of thing?
yeah.
And my parents actually were super supportive. They were like, if you ever are going to try something, you might as well try it now when
Mm,
you're 29, not when you don't want to regret it when you're
yeah, yeah,
50.
yeah.
So I had a friend of a friend who opened a brand new hospital in Philadelphia. So I asked him, could I come on board and just help in some way? And I ended up really falling in love with doing PIMS and
Mm,
software support
mm,
internally for the team,
mm,
something I kind of did anyway in all my jobs, and it kind of
yeah.
just was natural. And then that led to a job actually working for a PIMS, which then led to a job working for a different hospital chain, which led to another job working for a different PIMS,
What a
led to
journey.
another job working for a different hospital chain. I joke, I've literally had 7 jobs in three
Oh, my
years, which
God.
I don't advocate. I don't advocate having 7 jobs in 3 years, but it's
Uh,
taken me a while
the
to find the
experience.
right fit. But
Yeah.
this is my dream job to be the
Okay.
director of medical software. We have 7 hospitals,
Mm,
6 in New Jersey, 1 in Philadelphia. We all use EasyVet as the PIMS, but
mm,
I have experience
mm,
with every PIMS.
yeah.
But yeah, my teams come to me about how do I do this in EasyVet? How do I do this in Vet Radar? I help troubleshoot problems. We're going to talk about AI Scribes. That's one of my current
Yeah.
projects is AI
Yeah.
Scribes.
Yeah.
So kind of a long-winded intro, but
Oh, that's awesome.
I'm the PIMS guy
The
now.
PIMS guy, the PIMS guy. That maybe should be the title.
Yeah.
No, but it's interesting because before I met you, I of course I knew that software is a big part in veterinary medicine as well. But I come from a computer science background, right? And I spent doing software engineering, but I didn't know that you could find like director of medical software in
Well,
veterinary
no, so it
medicine.
did. I was trying to convince companies to create the role for me. It's kind of
Yeah,
interesting. I got an email literally today and another email last week with the subject line Director of PIMS or Director of Software
yeah,
Support. And I'm like, where were these
Where have you been?
emails 3 years ago?
Yeah,
You know
yes.
what I mean? It's a
Yeah, yeah,
relatively new concept that this is even a
yeah.
position that you would
I
pay
see.
someone for.
I
I
see. I
spend
see.
a lot of time trying to convince hospitals to create the position for me,
Right.
but it is a now they're starting to catch on. I had a hospital in New York just email me, at a hospital chain in Austin, Texas email me, where they're starting to realize that this
Remote.
is a full-time job, someone to be in charge of the PIMS for 7, 10, 30, 50, 100 animal hospitals. The director of operations, they don't have time to
Oh, and it's a
own
different skill set as
PIMS,
well.
and they're doing
Because
all this other stuff. Yeah.
because
So it's a
I've
relatively new job title.
yeah. No, and I've spoken with you, quite some time already, and I see that you are technically savvy as well. Like software, the products and how they operate, and so I think it's also a different skill set that an operations person
Correct.
might
Yeah.
not be able
And
to
that's
achieve.
kind of how I was selling myself because I was interviewing with the director of operations for this hospital chain that had these 50 animal hospitals. And I would say, listen, I actually at one point thought that that was going to be my career. I was a product manager for a couple
Mm,
different PIMS,
mm,
and
mm.
I was designing features and I was writing up user stories for the developers, doing product review. And I missed being part of a clinic, part of a hospital chain where I could actually go in and work with the staff one on one, with the hospital managers, with the veterinarians. And so that's how I sold myself. I said, listen, I've lived in both worlds. I was a practicing veterinarian. I worked for PIMS companies, and now I want to kind of meld those two worlds together.
Yeah,
And thankfully, it worked on my
it
current
worked.
boss because I
Oh,
love
that's
my
awesome.
job now.
That's awesome. That's awesome, and that is a good segue into, like, we're going to be talking about AI, but in order to be familiar with AI, and as familiar as you are based on the conversations that you are, you not only have to have like a knack for technology, maybe, or an interest more, is what I tell people. It's a curiosity. And so,
Yeah,
I've spoken with you for the past months, and I wanted to ask for our audience if you can say, how have you used AI both personally in the veterinary medicine field? How did you get into AI, ChatGPT, or even before?
yeah,
Or like how, like these concepts that not everybody in veterinary medicine might be familiar with, but as I've spoken with other guests here in the podcast, it's super important. And you don't need to be a computer scientist to use ChatGPT. And so,
yeah, exactly. And it's kind of funny. I joke a lot about, listen, I grew up in veterinary medicine. It's the only thing I've ever known. My parents were vets, my brother's a vet. But that said, I do say kind of tongue in cheek, we're not the most tech savvy profession. We're just, if you go to your average animal hospital in your town, I hate to say it, but like we're not, as veterinarians, we're not often super computer savvy. And
mm,
even personally, when ChatGPT came out, I was really curious about it.
right,
I did download it and I tested it a couple times, but I didn't really use it that much in my daily life. I didn't really feel the need to really use it
yeah,
until this idea of an AI scribe came out. And so with my current job, my boss was at a conference. He saw one of the AI scribes there and he said, "Hey, Mark, I would love for you to look into this." And that sent me down this whole rabbit hole
rabbit
of
hole.
there's a bunch out there now. Some are
Yeah,
human medicine
yeah,
only, some are vet medicine only, some do both. And I
yeah.
was just demoing a bunch of different ones. One of our hospitals has been super gung ho about it, and they've been demoing a bunch of them. But yeah, to the point about you really don't have to be tech savvy to understand the concept. Actually, one of my veterinarians who's been leading the charge for this AI scribe, one of the reasons she's been leading the charge is because she's not tech savvy and her notes, it takes her a long time for her to write her notes in the PIMS. And so she was super interested because she was like, this is going to save me so much time.
Right.
And so, yeah, the idea that you can just have the scribe either listen in to the appointment or even just do like she was using dictation software
Mm,
for a while and
yeah,
she loved her dictation software because it was saving her a bunch of time. But the dictation software doesn't know the difference between a history and a physical and an assessment. She was essentially
right, right.
clicking into history,
Clicking
clicking into
into
physical,
button.
clicking into
Yeah,
assessment.
yeah.
Whereas the scribe, I can just verbal
Understand
diarrhea to the scribe or have it listen to my exam and it can actually figure out because
where.
you know 18 minutes into your exam when you're telling the owner your plan, the owner's going to spit out some history out of nowhere. And so
Yeah,
that having the scribe understand that that actually goes in the history section
yeah,
is amazing. And like I said, we've demoed specifically at my pilot hospital. They have demoed multiple different scribes,
yeah. Makes sense.
and different ones have their pros and cons, but all of them have been amazing just to see
Yeah,
the concept
yeah,
of this thing is going to write your notes for you.
yeah.
And so it's really fun discovery process.
Yeah, no, for sure. The first time I met you, we were considering, Vetric and whatnot, and you were like, yeah, I mean, I have a long list of 12,
I
and
had
I,
12, I have 12, I have more now. I think I
and I'm
have
like,
15 or
what?
16. I think I have 15 because I added a couple of human
Yeah, there's
ones
human
I was like
medicines as
curious
well,
about.
and there's both, and yeah,
But yeah, no, I literally have a bookmark on my
yeah,
Google
I know, I
Chrome that
remember
has
that one.
12 different
Yeah,
veterinary scribes on it. That yeah,
no,
it's like there's a lot.
I think it's a super important work, and that's why we're doing it as well at Vetric. But I did want to, ask you a little bit more into this. Now that you're more familiar with the AI scribes, and
Mhm.
you've tried them a lot. How do you see the AI scribes functionality from, for example, providing a diagnosis as well? because I've been having different, I talk to a lot of veterinarians, and
Yeah.
most the consensus is, I just want you to put in whatever I've said. I don't want you to infer and create random
Yeah.
diagnoses that I never said.
Yeah.
And but some are more open into like, well, I mean, if you give me a pre-list of 4 possible diagnoses, that would be good for me to look like, where do you stand there, and how do you see it evolving?
Oh my God, yes, great. I literally had this debate with a veterinarian on the floor 6 days ago. Like this, we had this exact debate, and we thought that's what was happening. It was kind of funny. She was like, "Where did it get this? Like, I never said this. I don't want it to put things that I didn't say."
Right,
And what ended up happening was their technicians go in the room and get a history first, and
right,
then they come out, and then the vet goes in.
right,
It was taking something that happened when she wasn't in the room, and
right.
she didn't even know that this was something that was discussed. I was like, see, it didn't make it up. It came from something. But I totally agree. Some
Yeah,
vets are going to love the idea that the AI scribe is going to help them, and some vets are going to say, I only wanted to put what I said,
right,
leave the differentials up to me.
right.
But at the same time, like this is the way of the future, right? Like the way of the future is not going to have. I showed you the other day. I was like, here, this is the textbook that we all got
Yeah,
like fourth
yeah,
year
yeah.
of veterinary school, the small
Multiple
animal
pages.
differentials. I used to
Yeah,
have it in my pocket at
yeah,
work or in my white coat.
yeah,
The days of carrying around a little pocket-sized textbook and
yeah.
leafing through the differentials in the days of AI, that's gone, right? Because you can ask AI, give me the differentials for
For this,
anemia, give me the differentials for polydipsia for a dog, and it's just going to give it to you in 5 seconds.
right,
So I like the idea. We talked about this recently. I like the idea of calling it out. So,
right.
like in the transcription, or sorry, not in the transcription, in the notes
Yeah,
in the SOAP that it provides,
yeah,
calling out, hey, this was recommended by AI. I've seen
right.
that a little bit in like
Yeah,
I log in. You said we talked about LinkedIn earlier. When I log into LinkedIn now, it's like, do you want LinkedIn to write
yeah,
AI to write
yeah,
your post?
yeah.
I'm like, no, I can write
You
my
can
own
do
post. Thank you. But
it. But that's
I
all I.
like calling
Yeah,
it out. Like this is an
okay,
AI suggestion. I like that idea. But
yeah,
again, yes, some vets are going to latch onto that and say, "Oh, this is great. It gives me differentials." And some vets are going to say, "I only want you to put the
yeah.
words that come out of my mouth. I don't want you to add anything
I
extra." And then I like the idea of like accepting or rejecting. I've seen that
right.
like in some, like I
Yeah,
said, I used to work for PiMS, and some of the PIMS would suggest certain things that to the user, like, "Hey, do you want to use this?" And you could kind of say yes or no. So I
yeah,
think that might be the sweet spot, in my
yeah,
opinion.
yeah. No, no, that makes complete sense. And I think my not my fear, but like my whole um, uh, purpose here is to encourage the veterinarians that are a little bit more afraid on using AI because they think that it's going to replace their jobs,
Yeah.
to try to switch that mindset. And it's like, look, whether it generates some differentials or not, it's just recommendations. Like this is just to augment your workflow and to
Correct. It's an
augment your
assistant.
work.
Yeah, I
So we
I
can,
literally I had the same. So I was on the floor. So we've bounced around between a couple different
yeah,
AI scribes,
yeah,
and that clinic, it happens to be an hour from my house. So
yeah,
I was like, I'm just gonna come all day, Monday, Tuesday, and work with you guys to
yeah,
get it set up where everybody feels comfortable using it. And yeah, I had that conversation multiple
yeah,
times about this is gonna steal my job,
yeah,
essentially.
yeah,
And we're actually working with a couple different AI companies. One that's more of like a front of house AI, that's like an AI CSR that can
yeah,
schedule appointments
yeah,
and put in refill requests. And then another AI that is going to write their medical notes for them and listen to appointments.
right.
And both groups came to me and said, Dr. Mark, this is going to steal my job. And but exactly that. That's not the goal. The goal
That's
is not. It's supposed to assist you.
that's
And the
it.
CSR one was especially, they were kind of nervous, and to be honest, I could see a world where you might not hire an entire back room full of a phone room, because like I know hospitals, big hospitals that literally have a phone room
Yeah,
because their phones are ringing off the hook. Once AI gets into this and is scheduling appointments, like you might not need a phone room, but at the same time, I don't believe we're ever going to get to a point where you walk into an animal hospital and you're
yeah.
greeted by a computer
Oh,
screen.
of
Like
course not.
you
Yeah,
still want to be greeted by a human, right? Like no, like yes, when I go to Wawa, I live in Northeast, so when I go to 7-Eleven or whatever, it is kind of nice that I can do a self checkout and I can buy my
Yeah,
bagel
but it's
and I can just
different.
self check out.
It's a
But
different service. It's
when
a
I'm walking into an animal hospital with my dog, I would like there to be a human. I don't want, right? So it's never going to totally steal your job. It's like you said, it's there to assist, it's there to augment. The AI is not doing physical exams on dogs, right? And like, what was the name of the one that IBM made? IBM Watson or something. They made one for human medicine, and that was the fear. It's like, oh, it's a robot doctor, and actually, it's a little different in human medicine because humans can more accurately describe their symptoms than a dog can. Obviously, dogs can't talk,
yeah,
but like our physical exams are so crucial to us in veterinary medicine. And every vet knows this. Like some things in the history from the owner are accurate, some things in the history from the owner are not accurate. And
yeah,
teasing those things out and figuring that
and,
out.
yeah,
Yes, the AI is going to be there to augment, to offer differentials, to offer plan suggestions. I was playing with an
sure,
AI the other day that I said, give me a possible treatment plan for this patient, and I was very impressed with what
yeah,
the AI produced. But again, it's up to me to actually look at that and say, yes, I am going to prescribe this drug,
yeah,
yes or no.
yeah,
Maybe I don't want to prescribe that drug because it's really hard to pill a cat. Maybe I want to use the liquid instead. So like
sure, yeah,
it's always, in my opinion, now not everybody agrees with me. People, and I do think to say AI will never take anyone's job, I think is being a little
no,
naive.
no, of course, of course,
But there are going to be CSRs, there are going to be veterinary technicians, there are going to be veterinarians when you walk into an animal hospital. Maybe you don't have a phone room, but like you said, overall it's going to augment
yeah,
what we're offering. It's not going to steal your job.
yeah. No, and I
Kind of,
think
I don't
that's
know.
a
It's
that's a
it's a tough conversation.
it's a tough conversation, but I think it's a good segue to to end this podcast with a good note on, like, what advice we can give to young veterinarians, old veterinarians, on encouraging to actually be curious and adopt these technologies, even if it's to try it. Because a lot I've
Yes.
heard is, no, no, I don't want to use it, but you haven't even tried it. Try
Yeah,
it, and
exactly. Yeah.
maybe you
I
can
have
make
no
it
interest.
right,
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 right, right.
right. So, any advice that you can possibly, give the
Yeah,
audience?
I actually literally this morning I was responding to a text message. I posted, this, I posted on
Yeah, yeah,
Facebook
yeah,
about this. Like,
yeah,
hey, we're starting to use AI scribes. Like,
yeah,
let me know if this is something you're interested in.
yeah,
And I had a bunch of people from vet school and from old jobs message me. And one of them actually works at the vet school that we went to. She was my classmate and now she works there. She's like, I just don't know that this is going to be a good fit for a teaching hospital because part of being a teaching hospital is that you're learning how to write your notes.
yeah.
And I totally get that, but at the same time, like in 2030, I don't know that veterinarians are going to be writing their notes as much. I just don't know. Like if ChatGPT came out, you know more than I do. ChatGPT came out what, 2 years ago, or I don't even. Yeah, if ChatGPT came out 2 years ago, and within that 2 years, there's 12 different veterinary scribes. In 2030, we're not going to be like sitting there typing out our histories and our physicals. I just don't think
That
that's
is,
going to be the way of the world. And so the sooner, like you said, the sooner that we play with these tools and we learn how to use them
yeah,
and what they're good for and what they're not good for, the better. Like that's almost when I graduated from veterinary school, my class was one of the first classes ever that had a veterinary business initiative because they were saying these veterinarians are graduating and they don't know anything about business. And so they said, we're going to add this to veterinary school. And I think technology is going to have to start to be in that same realm where, and like you said, this is the thing with older veterinarians. There are still a lot of hospitals, believe it or not, in the world that use paper records.
oh yeah,
And
a couple, yeah,
there's a lot of resistance to
yeah,
even using digital records at all. And I think part of and it wasn't something I ever took a class in, but like part of my veterinary school experience was being on clinics and learning how to use digital records. And then as an intern, learning how to use
yeah,
digital records. And so, yes, the younger vets are better because we're naturally more tech savvy. We grew up with computers. But yeah, the 40, 50, 60-year-old veterinarians, especially the people who want to sell their clinic, right?
yeah,
It's
yeah.
really hard to sell your clinic right now if you're on paper records
Oh yeah,
because
for sure. Who
nobody
wants
wants the headache of
to
buying a hospital to
training?
then do a PIMS transition.
Yeah, yeah.
So
It's a
um, it's
good
kind of
point.
what my take on this is like whether you like it or not, this is what's happening. So we
Okay.
might as well learn about it and adapt.
Yeah,
And everything happens in human medicine first to an extent, and then trickles down to vet med. Now, The scribe part is different because of HIPAA laws in human medicine, it's really much harder
Mm,
to do
mm,
certain things with
mhm,
patient data. And so in some ways, veterinary medicine is almost leading the charge.
mm.
I did a call with a software company 2 days ago that said we wanted to do human medicine, but we ended up doing veterinary medicine instead because we could actually get access to the data. And
Mm,
so, again, whether we like it or not, this is coming. We
mm.
might as well learn about it, see how it can augment our lives. And the biggest thing we talk about with veterinarians, I used to do this. I would finish my shift as an intern. I worked a 12-hour ER shift, 12 to 12, and I would go home at 4 a.m. or 5 a.m. because I'd be writing my records for three,
Yeah,
4 hours after my
yeah, 24
shift.
hours afterward.
And we talk about work-life balance in veterinary medicine. We talk about mental health in veterinary medicine being a big issue.
Yeah, all of these
And
things contribute.
the time we spend writing our records has always been a problem.
Yeah.
If we can, and again, I'm not advocating, and it's tempting because some of these scribes make really nice notes. It's tempting to say transfer to PIMS and then to hit save and never look at it again.
Never look at it.
That's
Yeah,
not the point.
that's not.
Proofread it, make sure it's accurate, edit it to your specifications. Because again, the last thing you're going to want is to
Yeah.
send that record to the pet owner or send it to a referring veterinarian. They're going to be like, this doesn't
This
make
is wrong.
sense.
Yeah,
Why
yeah,
does it say this?
yeah.
But again,
No,
it's a little bit
that's
like jump on the train or get run over by it, right? I'd much rather jump on the train than get run over. And so if any veterinarian, like my advice, that would be my advice. If veterinarians are saying to me, Mark, I'm resistant, I'm not a computer person, I'm not tech savvy, this is not really in my wheelhouse, it's not really, up my alley. I'm like, jump on the train or get run over. If you want to sell your practice in 10 years, or if you want to hire, that's another thing too. Some of these older veterinarians will say to me, Dr. Mark, it's so hard to hire a veterinarian right now. There's so much competition
yeah,
fighting over these new grads. One of the ways you attract a new grad to join your hospital is by embracing technology. If
yeah.
you say, listen, our hospital employs AI scribes that writes your notes for you,
It's a good
maybe
point.
it doesn't matter that the giant corporate hospital down the road is offering them $10,000-$20,000 more in salary because their work-life balance is going to be so much
So
better
much
with
better.
you because you're embracing technology. And maybe now some of these big corporations are really great about embracing technology, but
Yeah,
other ones aren't as great because they don't
yeah.
want to spend the money, right? So it's like, um, whether you like it or not,
It's
you're
coming.
gonna have to
Yeah,
learn how to use it.
and
Yeah.
learn by doing. I think a very important thing that you said is learn by doing. Just jump on it, like try it
Yeah.
out.
Yeah, just play with it. Break
Play with
things. That's my
ChatGPT.
thing. Break
Yeah,
things. Do a free trial
yeah,
and
free trial.
break it and make it so that it's not working and figure out why it's
So
not
that you know why
working.
it's
And
not
yeah,
working. So, yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm a big
No,
fan. Everybody says, like you said, people are like, "Oh, I don't even want to touch it." I'm like, "Why? Just do a free trial.
yeah.
Like, what do you have to lose?"
What do you have to lose? And that's what that's a little bit of the mindset that we were doing with Vetric as well, which is, anyone can try it. Like you don't even need to do a free trial. We eventually, get you on board with like a trial and whatnot, but it's literally just a matter of like clicking two buttons and getting started. And the
I
whole
like
point
that a lot because
is
I,
that.
I did ones where I would say request a demo. I'm not going to
Right.
name names, but there was one
Yeah, yeah,
that it
yeah.
was like a Monday, and I hit request a demo, and like the calendar popped up, and it
Yeah.
was like the next Friday.
Next.
It was in like 15 days, and I
Yeah.
was like,
It's
I don't want to do a demo in 15 days. And then with VetRec, I said start a demo, and it said, oh, here's your free trial. I was
yeah.
like, oh, and then
You can
my
try
own
it.
dog, this, Kevin, my own dog is a lemon, has a crazy medical history. So
Yeah.
I just verbal diarrheaed my own dog's medical history for like 3-4 minutes.
Yeah.
And I said, all right, show me what you can do. And it
Yeah.
produced a beautiful soap on my own lemon animal. And I was like, ooh, okay. I can see how this could
This could
really
go
work.
somewhere, maybe not. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the whole point. Anyways, thank you so much, Dr. Mark. This was a great discussion, and thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate
Yeah,
it.
no problem. All right.